Council Action. I'm Russell Inman, and joining us tonight from Ward 5 is Councilman Schildroth. Keith, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great.
Doing good. Well, we are in November. We're coming close to Thanksgiving. This is usually when we have a fairly meaty agenda because in December we'll only have one meeting. So I'm used to seeing a little bit of action here in November, and we got that tonight. Touch for a minute on hearing from citizens. We had some of the folks that are opposed to Florissant's breed ban come in again.
Right.
And it sounded like there was a little bit of good news to be said. Florissant has agreed to do some adopting out now of the dogs that have been taken in. So this can save some pets' lives, and they were happy to hear that.
Right. At our previous meeting last month, Ms. Peg Mullenschlater brought it to our attention that we weren't letting different groups come in and adopt a pit bull if we determined that they were in violation of the ordinance. And the mayor jumped on board right away to allow staff to now let groups come in and try to find that dog a place outside the city.
That's
so,
great.
I mean, I think that's a great thing that we have done, and hopefully that'll work out for some people.
Another item that came up in hearing from citizens was the ice rink. It's got a lot of activity this time of the year with hockey teams practicing in it and residents using it, but there's noise level concerns.
Yeah, some residents who live on Parker Road had some concerns about the noise, and I think Mr. Schmidt, that's in his ward, and the mayor are going to work to fix that problem rather quickly. And I think years ago we had a problem similar to that, and Mr. Schmidt and the administration worked on it, and I feel pretty confident with the administration and Todd Schmidt, our parks director, that a solution can be found pretty quick.
Keith, in our public hearing side of the agenda, this is where we really get to see some of the new business either coming into the city of Florissant or some facelifts, and it looks like we've got a little bit of both of those. KFC has come in with a plan to kind of revitalize their property. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, KFC on Lindbergh, they want to update the property to what the rest of their corporation is doing nationwide, and it concerns exterior work to the building and to the signage. They're not going to be painting any of the brick. Mr. Caputo is always diligent about asking about their masonry plans, and it'll be a nice facelift for that property and for Lindbergh, and they always keep their property up. Mr. Jones had a concern about the dumpsters, but he was satisfied with their plans for that, so I think it's a win-win all the way around.
I think the ephes was going to get painted, the tile was going to be painted,
right.
But they were very clear the brick was going to be left alone.
Correct.
Now, looking forward to seeing the development of this next one, I think it's going to be called Alexander Cellar. There was a request to rezone Quality Assurance Group LLC. It's a property at 150 Washington. Right now, it's operating as a B2 Central Business District as well as a historic business district. They want to get that merged together so it's all a historic business district. And tell us a little bit about what their plans are.
Well, I met with the owner, Mr. Jimmy White, several months ago, and he told me he had purchased the property, been vacant for a long time, and I took a tour of the property, and I was really surprised how good a shape it's in inside. We started at the basement. The HVAC, the furnace looks really good, and I didn't see any water damage or anything like that. Went to the first floor, and it looked, really pretty good, and upstairs also. I didn't see any water damage up there there's no problem with the roof. I didn't see anything like that. Then I went into the rear of the property, and there are two structures. One is a historic structure that they can't really do much to except renovate it somewhat. And there's another structure back there that they're going to take down. And they're going to use that area in the back for parking. It's going to be called Alexandria Cellar, just a wine bar with a wood-burning pizza. And they're just going to have a wine, no full liquor license. And
a tasting room, I think.
Yeah, they're going to have
different
rooms where you can do wine tasting. They're going to do a lot of work out front on Washington with some fire pits and some landscaping. And, you know, I'm really happy with Mr. White. He bought the small strip mall right next door to it several years ago, and it was vacant for quite a while. And he revamped it and did a lot of work with the landscaping, with the lighting, and really cleaned the property up really nice, and it looks great. And now this will complement, that part of Washington right there. The only real concern I had, day one with Mr. White in his proposal was exiting the property. He's going to take the driveway all the way back, or there's a driveway not there now. He's going to create one all the way back to Harrison, and you'll be able to exit the property there and make a left on Harrison and get on Graham Road. I said I had a concern, a minor concern then, about the neighbors on Harrison. I said, you need to do your homework and speak to the neighbors. They need to get behind you on this project for it to really go. And right away, Mr. White hit the ground running and talked to a lot of the neighbors, one of which I know personally, and I'd stopped by their house about a month after I saw Mr. White, and they couldn't be more pleased with the project, with what Mr. White wants to do, in our city, and the concept, and what a good neighbor he's going to be, what he is now already, how he had cleaned the property up already, and the city, when you run for office, you get asked by a lot of people, why don't we have more mom and pop businesses? The mayor alluded to this tonight at the council meeting, and this is a perfect example of the kind of business we've been looking for quite some time. The microbrew at Cagino's is another one. Hendel's is another one. This just adds to the growing list of mom and pop businesses that we have in our town. And I commend Mr. White for wanting to come here, and first for purchasing the small strip mall and doing a great job with that. And now doing this property, been vacant for several years. Like I said, it's in really decent shape. He's going to do some work to it, but I think it's going to be a great addition. It's in Ward 5, the ward that I represent. So I'm really excited about that. Even more that they're in Florissant and they're in Ward 5. So it's just, everybody on the council was for it, and I think it's going to be great.
Look forward to seeing that one open. And second readings tonight, we had an authorization for the special use permit for the Valley Protection District, their installation of their digital ground sign. That passed, so we should be able to see something come with that quickly.
That'll be nice. We saw a demonstration of similar type sign at City Hall a couple weeks ago, and that'll be great for the firehouse.
And we had the block grant. It's the annual action plan for the city of Florissant. This is directing the mayor to submit a plan for the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. That's still in the works, and that passed tonight. Then golf course merchandise. This was an accounting change that we had in this second reading, isn't it?
Right,
where $24,000 was moving over from merchandise to salaries.
Right, just to finish out the remainder of the fiscal year, yeah.
And something similar was that the next piece, $10,000 from salaries to utilities for Bangor Pool.
It's another just a bookkeeping chore. One account was flush with some money, so we moved it over to another account so we could finish out the rest of the year.
Okay. We'll just touch for a second on the bonds. We had a resolution authorizing the offering for sale of special obligation bonds, the city of Florissant, Missouri. This ended up settling on an amount of $8.2 million. Is that correct?
It's correct. We are in the process of going out for bonds and bids for those bonds for two projects, the HVAC project at the Egan Center and the renovation of Dick Weber Lanes to become our courthouse. And some members of council had some questions concerning the contingency dollar amount in that bond proposal. After working with the administration Mr. Lee and some other council members recommended that we drop that bond dollar amount down to 8.2 million. The court project is going to be really good addition to our city. We've been looking for a permanent courthouse for probably 20 or 30 years, and the HVAC work at the Egan Center was in dire need, and that project is close to getting completed. So this was just a work in progress to get that down to 8.2 million, and I think you know, we did the right thing there.
And in this case, if it comes up that you need more than 8.2, you've got the reserve funds.
Right,
that
we
you
could.
that you can use a little bit of.
Yes, we could if we had to. Hopefully it won't, though.
Hopefully not.
That's the plan.
Bills for first reading, signs and billboards section. This is to increase the size of signage allowed in commercial areas to 32 square feet. That was reconsidered and postponed to this date.
We are, excuse me, I'm sorry. We are tabling that. We're going to take that up in a work session.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, we don't have any elections coming up, so now we don't need the bigger signs
Yeah.
for a little bit, right? Ordinance to rezone for Bridal Development Corporation for the property at 2710 North Highway 67 from a B3 extensive commercial district to a B5 planned district to allow for the redevelopment of a shopping center and construction of a sit-down, carry-out, and drive-through restaurant. That had just one reading tonight.
Yep, we had Mr. Schmidt had a question about the height of the sign on this property, and we are going to get a definitive answer from planning and zoning and get back to that hopefully at our next meeting.
And we had an ordinance authorizing an appropriation of $50,000 from the General Revenue Fund, professional services to fund additional attorney's fees through the end of the fiscal year. That being a budget item, it had 3 readings tonight and passed.
Right. It's really hard to predict certain fees in this budget. One of them would be professional services for your city attorney. You don't know what lies ahead or around the corner or behind the door. From a legal standpoint, if someone is going to challenge you or bring an issue to the city that would require legal services. So you could only estimate so much, and hopefully you don't go over that. And sometimes situations come when you go over that dollar amount and you have to appropriate some more money, and this was a good example. Money well spent.
And another item passed after 3 readings tonight was an appropriation of $5,000 from the General Revenue Fund, copy equipment and supplies to cover
That was just
the copying lease through the end of fiscal year.
That was just another
cleaning up budget items. We do that pretty regularly here at the end of the year.
That's correct.
And we had an ordinance to authorize, this was, the next 2 actually were carried on from public hearings. We had one reading on the Kentucky Fried Chicken remodel, and we had 1 reading for that historic business district.
Right.
There's also a first reading on an ordinance amending job classifications and grade level by amending the grade level for selected job classifications by adding job classifications. What's this for, Keith?
This will coincide with our work at the golf course when we were going to create a new level for a job at the golf course that would end up saving us close to $8,000.
Okay. And we adopted an ordinance adopting the budget for the city of Florissant for the next fiscal year. This will commence on December 1st and end on November 30th.
Right. We made some amendments to that, one of which was to add a court, I would say court clerk that will probably be used with the prosecutor. Due to a recent Supreme Court ruling, Judge Ball explained that earlier in the meeting today, that he is going to need that person. So that amendment was made.
That's a,
to the budget.
that was a reading really that came recently that said
Recently,
this clerk would need to
Several months
be
ago.
provided.
You are correct.
Okay, we had an ordinance authorizing and directing the issuance, sale, and delivery of special obligation bonds,
Right.
Series 2016, for the city of Florissant, and approving certain documents and authorizing certain actions in connection. Ordinance repealing an ordinance and authorizing the mayor of the city of Florissant to enter into a contract with the law firm Lewis and Rice Fingrish, represented by John Hessel, for legal
Right.
services. Again, bringing him back on board for another couple of years. This is going to go from December 1st, 2016 and ending now November 30th, 2018.
Right.
How long has Hessel been here? He's been with the city for...
I would say, oh, I know he's with Mayor Egan, so
Yeah,
quite a while.
it's been well over 20,
Yeah.
20, maybe 30
Also
years.
30-something
Yeah.
years, yeah.
There was an ordinance amending or establishing a new compensation plan for the part-time employees for the city of Florissant. This is dealing with the golf groundskeeper 3 classification and adding the golf to the street health, parks, and labor truck driver classifications.
Right, these last 2 ordinances
Okay.
just help create the new, get rid of the one title with the position at the golf course and creates a new one.
And I'll effectively work
Yep.
into that new budgeted
Yep.
plan. Okay.
That will save us $8,000, so
Well, we'll take it.
that's the bottom line.
That's
yeah.
the bottom line. Well, tell us a little bit more, Keith. What's going on in your ward right now?
Well, I would say I would like to encourage anyone who would like to get involved in the Neighborhood Watch Program. You can call Officer DeHart at the Florissant Police Department, 831-7000. And we're always looking for people in Ward 5. They're really excited about Alexandria's cellar. It's going to be a great addition to our city and to Ward 5. You know, I had a fantastic day at the yesterday at the Veterans Day Parade. It was great weather. I'd like to thank Valley Industries for letting us use their fire truck, and the whole council participated. The mayor was in the parade. I'd like to congratulate our parade marshal, former Councilman Pat Stennett, who was very active with the veterans, especially the Vietnam veterans, and it couldn't have picked a better guy to be our marshal. And I would like to also give get well wishes to Mary Gettemeyer. She's a very active lady with our Valley of Flowers Committee. She's a very active business owner at the flower plot. She has a little health problem, and I'd like to tell her to get well soon. And she also happens to live in Ward 5, so that's even more important. And I know the ladies miss her at the bread company. Every morning she'd go in there and get her morning coffee. And she's a real spark plug to our city, and she's one of the more active ladies in our city, and she does a lot for the Valley Flowers Committee, and she's done so for a very long time.
Get better soon.
Yep.
Well, Keith, thank you for your time. Thanks for letting the residents know. And I like to think about this as the quick and down and dirty, easy version of the council meeting that we don't always understand when we sit back here and try to watch the whole thing. So I appreciate you giving of your time for the residents here in the city.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. I'm Russell Inman. This has been Council Action. We'll see you next time.